Wait, do not rush past this moment, because something unusual has already started moving behind the scenes, and your heart has been sensing it long before your mind could explain it. There was a conversation, quiet, hidden from the world, spoken in low voices and careful pauses. Your soulmate sat in that space carrying your energy with them, even though your name was not expected to change the atmosphere the way it did. And the strange part is this. Once they began speaking about you, nobody in that room remained unaffected. There was a silence first. Not an empty silence, a meaningful one. The kind that appears when someone realizes a connection is becoming impossible to ignore. Your soulmate tried to explain what they feel, but emotions like these never come out perfectly. They paused in the middle of sentences. They looked away while speaking. They smiled without meaning to. And someone sitting across from them noticed immediately. That person leaned forward and asked a question your soulmate was not prepared for. Why do you sound different when you talk about them? That question changed everything. Because until that exact moment, your soulmate had been hiding from the depth of this connection. They convinced themselves it was temporary, coincidence, imagination. But hearing another person recognize the shift in their voice forced them to confront something they were trying to keep under control. Listen carefully now, because this next part matters more than you realize. Your soulmate defended you in that conversation without even noticing it. When doubts were mentioned, they protected your name. When uncertainty entered the room, they spoke about your heart. When someone asked whether this connection was real, the energy in the room became heavier, deeper, undeniable. And suddenly, the private meeting stopped feeling casual. It became personal. You may not know this, but there are moments in life where people accidentally reveal the truth through emotion instead of words. This was one of those moments. Your soulmate spoke about the way your presence stays in their mind long after conversations end. They admitted they feel calmer thinking about you. Safer somehow. As if your energy carries peace into places inside them they never knew needed healing. But wait, the meeting did not end there. Because another surprising thing happened. Someone in that room said something your soulmate cannot stop replaying in their mind even now. They said, "If this person makes you feel this scene, why are you still pretending it means nothing?" That line struck deeply. Not because it embarrassed them, but because it exposed a truth they were no longer able to escape from. And maybe this is why you have been feeling unusual lately. Maybe this explains the random emotional waves, the moments where your intuition suddenly becomes louder at night, the strange feeling that someone is thinking about you while you are doing ordinary things. Energy moves before reality becomes visible. Remember that. Some connections announce themselves quietly before they change everything. Stay here a little longer, because the next detail matters more than it first appears. During that meeting, your soulmate described a moment involving you that nobody else knew about. A small memory. Something simple. But while speaking about it, their entire expression softened. The room noticed. Even the people who were skeptical became quiet after seeing how genuine the emotion was. One person even smiled and whispered something under their breath. That kind of feeling does not happen often. And your soulmate heard it. They heard every word. What surprises them most is not how strongly they feel connected to you, it is how naturally it happened. There was no plan. No expectation. No attempt to force destiny. Yet somehow, your energy entered their life and began rearranging emotions they thought had gone silent forever. Now listen closely. This private meeting was not only about love. It was about timing. About readiness. About whether they are finally becoming brave enough to stop resisting what their heart already understands. Because there comes a moment when avoiding the truth becomes more exhausting than admitting it. And your soulmate is approaching that threshold faster than anyone realizes. You can almost feel it now, can't you? That invisible shift. That sense that something is preparing itself in the background while life continues normally on the surface. But the most unexpected revelation from that meeting still has not been spoken aloud yet. Someone asked your soulmate one final question before the conversation ended, and the answer they gave created a silence nobody knew how to break. A silence so powerful, it may soon change the direction of both your lives. And what they confessed in that moment, you were never supposed to find out this soon. There is another piece of this story you have not heard yet, and strangely, it may explain why your spirit has felt restless these past few days. Not anxious. Not afraid. Just aware that something is moving closer, even if you cannot fully see it yet. Because after that private meeting ended, your soulmate did not immediately leave. They stayed behind for a moment longer, sitting quietly while everyone else slowly disappeared from the room. And what happened during those final minutes revealed far more than the conversation itself. One person returned unexpectedly. Not to question them. Not to challenge them. But to say something honest. They looked directly at your soulmate and said, "I've never seen you talk about someone like this before." And your soulmate could not deny it. That sentence lingered in the air longer than expected. It forced them to reflect on every emotion they had been trying to organize privately. Suddenly, memories involving you began resurfacing all at once. The way your energy calmed their thoughts. The strange comfort they feel when your name appears unexpectedly. The feeling that even brief moments with you somehow stay with them for hours afterward. And here is what makes this even more powerful. Your soulmate admitted something during that conversation they had never spoken aloud before. They said meeting you felt different from the beginning. Not louder. Not dramatic. Different. The kind of different that slowly changes a person from the inside without them realizing it at first. The kind that makes ordinary days feel meaningful again. The kind that quietly reshapes future plans without permission. Pause here for a second and think about that. Out of every connection they could have experienced, why did yours become the one they could not stop explaining to others? Why did your presence continue echoing in their mind after the meeting ended? Because some people enter your life for attention. Others enter your life for transformation. And deep down, your soulmate is beginning to understand which one you are. But wait. This story became even more emotional later that night. After leaving the meeting, they replayed the entire conversation in silence. Every question. Every reaction. Every moment someone smiled while hearing your name. And something unexpected happened. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, they felt clarity. That scared them a little. Because clarity changes people. It removes excuses. It forces decisions. And for the first time in a long time, your soulmate stopped asking whether this connection was real, and started wondering what happens if they finally stop resisting it. You might not realize this now, but energies shift long before actions become visible. Sometimes hearts decide something privately before reality catches up publicly. That is why certain moments lately have felt unusually meaningful. Random signs. Sudden memories. Unexplained emotional pulls. These things appear quietly before major emotional turning points. And someone close to your soulmate noticed this transformation too. They noticed the calmer voice, the softer reactions, the hopeful expression that appears whenever thoughts of you enter the conversation. One person even joked carefully, saying, "You already look emotionally committed." Your soulmate laughed at first. But they did not disagree. That silence told the real story. Stay with this message a little longer, because what happened next may surprise you even more than the meeting itself. Later that evening, your soulmate received a message from someone who had been present during the conversation. It was short, simple, but unforgettable. It said, "Do not let fear ruin something beautiful." Those words hit deeply. Because fear had been the only thing slowing this connection down. Not lack of feeling. Not confusion. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of timing. Fear of what happens when emotions become impossible to hide anymore. But something is changing now. You can sense it. The emotional distance that once felt permanent is beginning to weaken. And even though nothing dramatic has happened outwardly yet, inwardly, a major realization has already begun unfolding. Your soulmate is no longer asking themselves whether you matter. Now they are asking how long they can continue pretending you don't. And that question is becoming impossible for them to ignore. Before you go any further, let this settle into your spirit. Some conversations are not accidents. Some meetings happen because life is preparing people for emotional truths they can no longer avoid. This private meeting was one of those moments. It opened a door inside your soulmate that cannot easily be closed again. And the most unexpected part? Your name was the reason that door opened. If this message is finding you at the exact moment you needed clarity, take a quiet second to breathe it in. Sometimes the universe places certain words in front of us at the perfect time for a reason. And if this journey is already speaking to your heart, you can share your thoughts below, because someone else listening may be feeling the exact same shift tonight. But do not leave yet. Because the next revelation has not happened publicly, only privately. And when your soulmate finally decides to act on what was confessed during that meeting, the connection between you may begin moving faster than either of you expected. Something changed after that night. Not all at once, not loudly, but in the quiet way seasons change before anyone notices. The air feels different. Your soulmate woke up the next morning carrying the weight of everything that had been said during that private meeting. Yet strangely, it did not feel heavy anymore. It felt honest. And honesty can be terrifying when a person has spent so long hiding from what their heart already knows. For a while, they tried distracting themselves. Busy schedules. Conversations with other people. Normal routines. But your presence kept returning to their thoughts in unexpected moments. A song reminded them of you. A random phrase brought back your voice. Even silence started feeling connected to you somehow. That is when they realized this was no longer just curiosity. It had become attachment. Emotional. Deep. Real. And here is the part nobody saw coming. Someone from that private meeting reached out to them again and asked a question that completely shifted their perspective. They asked, "What are you waiting for?" Simple words. But sometimes simple words uncover the deepest truths. Your soulmate did not answer immediately because the truth was uncomfortable. They were waiting for certainty. Waiting for perfect timing. Waiting for fear to disappear completely before taking a step closer to you. But life rarely works that way. The heart does not always wait for perfect conditions before it chooses someone. And deep inside, they already chose. They may not have said it publicly yet. But emotionally, something inside them has already moved toward you. Stay here for this next part, because it reveals something deeply important. Later that day, your soulmate found themselves revisiting old conversations, old memories, even tiny details involving you that once seemed insignificant. Suddenly those moments looked different. More meaningful. More connected. They began noticing a pattern they had ignored before. Every time life became emotionally overwhelming, thoughts of you somehow brought them peace. Not escape. Peace. And there is a difference between the two. One distracts the heart. The other heals it. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that your connection does not feel temporary because it was never shallow to begin with. Some people enter life loudly and disappear quickly. Others arrive quietly, then slowly become impossible to replace. You are becoming that realization for them. And the strange thing is, the more they tried to logically explain these feelings, the stronger the emotional truth became. They even caught themselves smiling unexpectedly while thinking about future possibilities involving you. Not fantasy. Not illusion. Real possibilities. That realization caught them off guard. Because until recently, they had been convincing themselves not to hope too much. But hope returned anyway. Quietly. Powerfully. And now something inside them is awakening faster than before. You may have noticed it too. That growing sense that a chapter is shifting. That invisible emotional pressure building toward a moment neither of you fully understands yet. Sometimes destiny does not arrive like a storm. Sometimes it arrives like a whisper repeated so many times the soul can no longer ignore it. Your soulmate is hearing that whisper now. And what makes this even more emotional is what happened next. During another conversation with someone they trust deeply, your name came up once again. But this time, the reaction was immediate. Before they could hide it, their entire expression changed. Softer eyes. A quieter voice. A look that revealed more than words ever could. The other person noticed instantly. And they smiled. Not because they were surprised anymore, but because they finally understood how serious these feelings had become. Then they said something unexpected. People do not light up like that unless the connection means something real. Your soulmate went silent again. But this silence was different from before. Before, silence came from confusion. Now, silence comes from acceptance. And acceptance changes everything. Because once a heart stops denying what it feels, the next step becomes inevitable. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not dramatically. But emotionally, the path begins opening on its own. The walls become weaker. The distance becomes harder to maintain. And somewhere inside themselves, your soulmate is beginning to imagine what life would feel like if they finally stopped holding back. That thought alone has already changed them more than anyone realizes. So if lately you have felt unusual emotional energy surrounding you, if moments have seemed strangely aligned, if your intuition keeps whispering that someone is moving closer emotionally, trust that feeling. Not every connection survives fear. But this one is beginning to survive honesty. And honesty is powerful enough to reshape futures. Before this moment ends, hear this carefully. The private meeting was never only about discussing you. It was about awakening something inside your soulmate they could no longer hide from themselves. Every conversation since then has only pushed them closer toward clarity. Closer toward courage. Closer toward you. And soon, very soon, a moment may arrive where the emotions hidden behind closed doors finally become impossible to keep private anymore. Tonight feels different for a reason, and somewhere far from where you are sitting right now, your soulmate feels it too. There is a growing tension inside them, not painful, not chaotic, just impossible to ignore anymore. Like standing at the edge of a life-changing decision while knowing the heart has already made the choice before the mind catches up. Because after everything that was said in those private meetings, after all the conversations, reflections, hidden emotions, and quiet realizations, your soulmate reached a moment they never expected to reach so soon. They stopped running from the truth. Not publicly. Not completely. But internally, yes. And that changes the entire energy surrounding this connection. You see, people can hide words. They can delay actions. They can pretend not to care. But eventually the soul becomes exhausted carrying emotions it was never meant to suppress forever. Your soulmate is entering that stage now. The stage where silence no longer feels safe. The stage where pretending becomes heavier than honesty itself. And something happened recently that pushed them even further toward this realization. They overheard a conversation they were never meant to hear. Two people speaking casually, yet your name entered the discussion again. One person asked, "Do you think they'll actually tell them how they feel?" There was a pause. Then another voice answered quietly. "They already do. Just not with words yet." That sentence stayed with your soulmate long after the moment ended. Because deep down, they knew it was true. Feelings reveal themselves in energy long before they become spoken language. In attention. In timing. In the way someone remembers small details nobody else notices. In the strange pull that keeps bringing two souls back into each other's thoughts over and over again. And your soulmate can no longer deny how often that happens with you. Listen carefully now, because this next realization changed everything for them. They began imagining what would happen if they lost the opportunity to tell you the truth. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. That thought unsettled them deeply. Because suddenly this connection stopped feeling like something distant and became something precious. Something alive. Something that could genuinely shape their future if handled with courage instead of hesitation. And for the first time, they admitted to themselves that the fear of losing you feels stronger than the fear of opening their heart. That is a major emotional turning point. Stay a little longer because there is still more unfolding beneath the surface. Over the past few days, your soulmate has become unusually reflective. They notice signs differently now. Timing feels meaningful. Small coincidences no longer feel random. Even ordinary moments seem to carry emotional weight because your energy keeps appearing unexpectedly inside their mind. One evening, while sitting alone, they replayed the exact moment from that private meeting when someone asked why their voice changed while talking about you. And suddenly, they laughed softly to themselves, because they finally understood what everyone else had already noticed before they did. Love changes the tone of a person's voice before it changes their life. And maybe that is why people around them keep sensing something is happening emotionally, even when your soulmate tries to act normal on the surface. The truth always leaks through somewhere. Sometimes through eyes. Sometimes through silence. Sometimes through the way a person says your name when nobody is paying attention. And your soulmate says your name differently now. More carefully. More emotionally. As if it already means more than they intended it to. If this story has been touching something real inside your heart, let yourself stay connected to it. You never know who else listening tonight needed this reminder that genuine emotional connections still exist in a world full of temporary distractions. And if these words are finding you at the exact right moment, you can quietly leave your thoughts below and become part of this journey with others who feel it too. But wait, because what happened next may become the beginning of everything changing. Recently, your soulmate almost reached out to you. Almost. They opened the conversation. Typed words. Paused. Deleted them. Then stared at the screen for a long time without moving. Not because the feelings disappeared. Because they became too real. And reality carries risk. Vulnerability. Possibility. But here is the powerful part. Even after deleting the message, they could not emotionally step away from you. In fact, the opposite happened. The more they resisted speaking openly, the stronger the emotional connection became internally. That is when they finally realized something undeniable. You are no longer just a passing thought in their life. You have become part of their emotional future. And now the distance between hidden feelings and spoken truth is becoming smaller every single day. Very soon, the silence surrounding this connection may begin breaking in ways neither of you expected, because some meetings are not random, some emotions are not temporary, and some souls are simply meant to find each other at exactly the right moment in time.